The year is 2038, and while the students of Yanjiang High prepare for martial arts college, former genius Chen Yuan seems to have lost all motivation. A bird chirps beyond the classroom window as if joining the calls for him to wake up. The entrance exam is only 7 days away, yet Chen is sleeping in the middle of a mock test. His muscular homeroom teacher storms over, grabs the boy by the head, and bellows at him to open his eyes. Chen does not react at all, and his peaceful expression only pushes the furious teacher closer to his limit. No matter how loud the classroom becomes, the sleeping teenager remains trapped in a dream no one else can reach. Finally losing patience, the teacher decides that brute force may be the only way to wake this troublesome student. He swings at Chen while shouting that the boy should have listened to his warning, but Chen counters without opening his eyes and sends the enormous instructor flying as the class recoils in alarm. The teacher hurtles across the room and crashes directly into the school's circular strength tester. The impact caves in the target and cracks its frame, revealing the terrifying power behind Chen's unconscious defense. When the battered machine calculates the blow, a shocking score of 233 appears on its display. The tester topples beside the boy, who is somehow still asleep, while his classmates struggle to believe the result. Even the famously strong teacher is shaken, since power like that could make admission to a martial arts college almost certain. Every instructor at the school is a martial artist, whereas most graduates can only hope to qualify as martial apprentices. Yet Chen's strength is not the strangest part, because not even that violent collision managed to wake him. His classmates explain that he has slept constantly and looked increasingly exhausted, suggesting something is seriously wrong. With no way to deal with him now, the teacher orders Chen to run 100 laps whenever he finally wakes. Ma Yuzai scoffs at the spectacle and claims the former prodigy is pretending to sleep after losing to him on the mock exam. Calling Chen a washed-up failure, Ma steps toward the damaged tester to demonstrate who truly deserves the class's admiration. He drives a powerful kick into the target, confident that his own score will erase the surprise Chen just caused. The display reads 132, and the students erupt in praise for their talented class representative. Chen usually scores below 30, so Ma's wealth and strength make Lu Ruyan's choice to stand beside him seem obvious to everyone. Ma mentions his supplements and private tutor before inviting Lu home so they can enter Qingbei Martial Arts Academy together. Before leaving, Liu glances back at the unconscious former genius and coldly tells him to accept reality. She walks away with Ma and the other students, leaving Chen alone beneath the ruined machine. His body remains motionless in the empty classroom, while his consciousness struggles for survival in another world. Inside a crumbling room, drops from a rusted pipe strike his face and finally pull him awake. Chen jolts upright in filthy, torn clothes, remembering the exam and wondering how he returned to this place. Pain rips through his injured shoulder, and the bruises on his body prove these wounds are not part of an ordinary dream. Every injury is still there, forcing him to recognize that whatever happens in this world has real consequences. The place must continue to exist while he is gone, turning a week of strange dreams into a deadly second life. He has awakened in the same decayed room once again, confirming the truth he desperately wanted to deny. Chen once believed sleep merely carried him into a fantasy, but wounds that persist between visits make that impossible. Weak and bleeding, he forces himself to stand rather than remain defenseless in this hostile world. He grabs a fallen metal pipe, knowing even a crude weapon is better than confronting the danger outside empty-handed. Moving cautiously, Chen approaches the broken window to learn more about the place his sleep keeps sending him. One glance outside leaves him wondering what kind of world he has entered. An entire city burns below, with smoke swallowing the skyline and countless figures staggering through the streets. The creatures are unmistakably zombies, confirming that Chen has been transported into a full-scale apocalypse. The scene resembles a survival game, yet he cannot dismiss the possibility that this is another version of Earth. During his last search for food, a zombie chased him through the hallway and tore open his shoulder before he escaped. Falling asleep here returns him to the normal world, but that escape offers only temporary relief, because anything his body eats at school does nothing to ease the hunger of the body stranded in the apocalypse. Unless he finds food soon, he may starve to death, making a supply run his most urgent mission. His final dry cracker barely helps and only reminds him how close he is to running out of strength. After being wounded, he tried to avoid returning by staying awake, but exhaustion eventually dragged him across again. Now the injuries and fatigue are affecting his normal body as well, convincing him that death here would kill him in both worlds. With nowhere left to hide, Chen must defeat the zombie in the corridor and reach the food beyond it. Clutching the pipe, he leaves his shelter and steps into the blood-stained hallway where the creature attacked him. As long as that monster roams outside, every remaining supply in the building is beyond his reach. Chen eases open the door with bruised hands and commits to the gamble before fear can stop him. He spots the lone zombie facing away down the corridor and realizes this may be his best chance to ambush it. Keeping low, he slips from cover and advances with the pipe held close to his body. The zombie suddenly spins toward him, its eyes blazing as it charges, before he can get into position. Chen raises the pipe to block, but the creature's weight crashes through his weakened defense. A savage fist misses his face by inches, showing that one clean hit could end the fight immediately. He ducks under the next attack, circles the monster, and struggles to reach its unguarded back. As he lifts the pipe, a mysterious blue number appears beside him and measures his power at 135. With his survival in both worlds resting on this strike, Cheon roars and swings with everything he has. The metal bar smashes into the zombie, splattering the wall and finally killing the creature that kept him trapped. While he catches his breath, another unexplained blue reading appears and lists his mind at 208. The corpse lies still beneath his foot, marking Chen's first decisive victory since arriving in the apocalypse. Because the battle was easier than expected, he briefly imagines using this strength to dominate the entrance exam, until a glowing green bead beside the corpse draws his attention like an item dropped by an enemy in a game. Chen picks up the strange sphere and turns it over. Unable to identify the object, it releases an enticing scent and radiates an energy that he can physically sense. His starving body begins craving the bead so intensely that instinct overwhelms his caution. Before he can stop himself, he swallows it and immediately panics when there is no way to bring it back up. Green energy erupts through his body, burning so fiercely that he can do nothing but scream through the transformation. When the surge ends, Chen is still alive, trembling and astonished by what he has just endured. Warmth spreads through every limb as the wound on his shoulder closes without leaving a trace. Power continues pouring into him afterward, proving that the crystal did much more than heal his injuries. A second green light appears near the dead zombie, and Chen's altered senses tell him that something new is within reach. When he extends his hand, a translucent cube forms before him and reveals that he has awakened a pocket space ability. The knowledge comes instinctively. The private dimension belongs to him and can store about 1 cubic meter of material. Consuming the zombie crystal granted him a supernatural power, though his strengthened body now burns through energy even faster. The building has already been stripped bare, leaving him with no food despite his newly awakened ability. Just as he prepares to search outside, a small object among the debris catches his eye. It is a gold ring, useless in a ruined civilization but potentially valuable back in his ordinary world. There is no reason to carry gold in the apocalypse where nobody has any use for jewelry. Then Chen wonders what objects inside his pocket space might travel with him whenever he changes worlds. To test the idea, he removes the ring from the corpse and treats it as his first piece of interworld capital. Green light surrounds the jewelry as he sends it into storage, and thoughts of profit briefly eclipse his hunger. The ornate ring floats securely inside the translucent cube, ready for the journey between his two bodies. His storage space closes with the prize inside and remains connected to him through the unseen transition. Back on the classroom floor, Chen summons the glowing cube and cautiously reaches into it. His fingers close around a solid object, proving that the contents of the pocket dimension survived the crossing. The ring falls into his palm as the cube fades, creating a physical link between the ruined world and modern society. Chen can only stare at it, realizing this discovery has changed the value of everything abandoned in the apocalypse. Standing beside the broken tester, he confirms that his new ability can carry valuable objects into reality. The gold ring has crossed safely through his private dimension, giving him a way to profit from the dead world's treasures. Excitement sends him leaping to his feet because money, food, and survival are suddenly part of the same opportunity. What counts as rubbish in the apocalypse can make him rich here, so he rushes away before anyone returns. Certain that his fortune is about to change, Chen races toward town to arrange his first sale. His enhanced body clears obstacles with ease, making the once exhausted student look like a completely different person. Lost in celebration, he nearly runs into traffic and learns that supernatural strength does not replace ordinary caution. He soon reaches a traditional jewelry store and heads inside to obtain a professional appraisal. Chen hands the ring to the shopkeeper and asks him to examine it before offering a fair price. The gold itself is not especially heavy, but the expert quickly notices that its diamond is remarkably rare. The first offer is 350,000 yuan, a figure so enormous that Chen nearly loses his composure. He hides his shock, asks for time to consider, and decides to compare prices at several other stores. Once outside, he can barely believe that a piece of discarded jewelry is worth more than 300,000 yuan. Chen thanks the employees and leaves, while they invite him to return without suspecting where the ring came from. After shopping around, he sells it for 400,000 yuan and watches the payment arrive on his phone. The new balance makes him burst into laughter, since the single ring earned him roughly $55,000. The sale exceeds every expectation and proves that unwanted apocalypse jewelry can become a fortune in his own world. For the first time, Chen can imagine a life that is not controlled by poverty and constant desperation. His first thoughts turn to massages, relaxation, and comforts he could never previously afford. A visit to the sauna joins the list since surviving zombies seems worthy of a proper reward. Bars and nightlife tempt him as well, but a far more urgent need quickly overrules every celebration. Hunger comes first, and Chen hurries into the night market determined to satisfy his strengthened body's appetite. He moves from stall to stall buying crepes, buns, chicken, and huge portions of anything that looks good. Soon, bags and trays surround him as he devours the feast with no concern for appearances. The meal becomes uncomfortable when Ma Yuzai and Lu Ruyan emerge from a nearby restaurant. They spot Chen among the stalls, and Ma mocks the notorious sleeper for finally deciding to wake up. Lu silently resents the encounter, clearly wishing she had not crossed paths with her former companion. Chen ignores them and calmly orders 2 more meals to take away. Ma ridicules the street food as garbage and boasts that a pauper like Chen could never afford steak or spirit beast meat. He displays a 2,000 yuan nutrient fluid that strengthens the body, noting that even rich students use only one bottle a week. Ma then gives a second bottle to Lu, flaunting both his resources and their new relationship. Chen continues eating while Ma describes such expensive supplements as something beyond his imagination. Holding the valuable gift, Lu insists that she chose Ma for love rather than money. She says she needs greater strength to remain at his side, and their sentimental exchange almost spoils Chen's meal. Ma notices a nutrient store nearby and suggests purchasing 3 bottles, including 2 for his entrance exam preparations. Chen enters the luxurious shop behind them, surprised that he never noticed the place before. When an employee approaches, he tells her that he wants to buy nutrient fluid in bulk. Chandeliers illuminate rows of glowing bottles, giving the store the appearance of an elite hotel rather than a pharmacy. Ma laughs at Chen's request, certain that the poor student cannot afford anything on display. The clerk presents 3 grades costing 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 yuan with stronger effects at each level. After explaining the difference in potency, she politely asks which kind Chen would prefer. Ma loudly claims that Chen's entire savings would barely cover a single bottle of the cheapest formula. Lu adds that changing one's physique requires at least 3 bottles and tells Chen to stop trying to impress her. She reaches for him while saying the shop is beyond his means, but Chen knocks her hand away. Lu recoils and accuses him of touching her, while Ma catches her and immediately takes offense. Despite seeing Lu initiate the contact, Ma angrily demands to know what Chen has done to his girlfriend. Chen dismisses both of them and returns his attention to the employee, unwilling to waste more time on their performance. After looking over the shelves, he asks for the most expensive nutrient fluid in the store. He then orders 100 bottles, stunning the clerk with the scale of the purchase. The top-grade supply will cost 300,000 yuan, and Ma and Liu insist that their supposedly penniless classmate must be bluffing. Chen tells Liu that her false concern disgusts him and orders her to stop acting as though she still knows him. The clerk confirms that Yanzhang's largest nutrient store has enough stock, and Chen calmly offers his card. She processes the payment while Ma and Liu wait eagerly for the transaction to fail. Instead, all 300,000 yuan is approved, leaving the smug couple frozen in disbelief. Delighted by the enormous sale, the clerk asks for his delivery details, grants him VIP status, and promises a complimentary gift. That evening, Chen's costly survival preparations continue inside his modest apartment. He fills the pocket dimension with boxes of food, medicines, drinks, and other supplies until almost no room remains. After fitting the last package inside, he finally declares the packing complete. Water, meals, supplements, medicine, and even an axe are wedged into the 1 cubic meter space with careful precision. Satisfied with his preparations, Chen falls onto the bed and believes surviving the apocalypse will now be far easier. He deliberately closes his eyes, confidently announcing that he is returning to the ruined world fully equipped. The transfer begins at once, and he awakens in the shattered room wearing the same filthy clothes. A full night's rest has refreshed this body and erased the exhaustion that nearly overwhelmed him before. The relief lasts only until his stomach growls, reminding him that his apocalyptic body is still starving. Chen opens his storage space and finds every meal, tool, bottle, and medical item waiting safely inside. He unloads an armful of food and drinks, transforming the miserable room into a temporary pantry. As the supplies emerge through the green light, he celebrates the complete success of his cross-world plan. Too hungry for patience, Chen grabs a stuffed bun and tears into it at once. He follows with a prepared meal, eating so desperately that table manners no longer matter. His apocalyptic body had nearly starved to death, with bones showing beneath its painfully thin frame. In that condition, even an ordinary steamed bun tastes like the finest delicacy. Chen adds meat, cola, and fruit to the feast, calling the meal a moment of perfect happiness. Finally full, he leans back on the ruined couch and savors the unfamiliar comfort in silence. Then he notices the remaining supplies and remembers one purchase he still wants to test. Chen selects a golden bottle of nutrient fluid to see how it affects this body. The same formula only quickened his blood slightly at home, but he suspects the response here will be much stronger. He raises the bottle and swallows the expensive liquid in one determined gulp. Energy immediately surges through his limbs, flooding muscles that were skeletal only minutes earlier. A test punch strikes the nearby wall with explosive force, revealing an effect far beyond ordinary nutrition. Chen realizes that starvation and constant stress had suppressed this body, while food and supplements have restored its potential. Although he has no machine to confirm it, instinct tells him his current power has risen above 20. Wondering how far the awakening can enhance him, he drinks another dose to push his strength even higher. Once ready, Chen takes up the red axe and sets out to kill zombies, gather crystals, and continue evolving. On the 18th and highest floor, several corpses wander through a corridor stained with old blood. Their orange eyes turn toward his footsteps, and every rotting face locks onto the scent of living prey. Chen appears in the doorway with the axe in hand as the entire group begins closing in. Instead of backing away, he rests the weapon on his shoulder and cheerfully announces that he has found them. His confidence seems to confuse the zombies for a moment, as though their intended victim has ignored the usual rules. The hesitation vanishes and the pack shrieks before rushing him all at once. Chen crosses the axe and pipe before his chest, declaring that clearing the top floor will be his first job. The corridor erupts into battle as new readings show 195 power, 172 speed, 180 agility, and 250 mind. Chen sweeps the axe through one attacker while several others rush him from behind, forcing him to stay in constant motion. The zombies are quicker than expected, their claws carry poison, and only their vulnerable heads offer a reliable weakness. Because the tireless creatures never slow down, they soon surround him and turn the hunt into a battle of endurance. One claw passes close to his neck, but Chen anticipates the ambush and calmly moves out of its path. As he kicks two zombies away, he opens a small vial prepared in advance, revealing another weapon from his supplies. Chen drops the container at his feet and crouches behind his crossed axe and pipe while its contents spread. Surrounded by monsters, he smiles and invites them closer, trusting the chemical to reverse the fight. A dense cloud bursts through the hallway, obscuring the pack as shadows collide violently inside the haze. Moments later, infected bodies tumble out and pile across the floor, proving the imported substance is devastating against zombies. Chen stands over the dead and inspects the empty tube with the satisfaction of a successful experiment. The formula works perfectly, but its range is too small, so he decides to prepare a Sodakin-sized batch next time. With the 18th floor secure, he gathers bracelets, pendants, carved ornaments, and other valuables from beside a heavy safe. He cannot verify their authenticity here, but anything transported home can be professionally appraised and sold if genuine. Repeated blows from the axe fail to open the safe, forcing Chen to leave its contents locked away for now. The true reward already glows in his palm. 4 green cores recovered from the zombies in the corridor. Since only some infected carry crystals, finding 4 on a single floor is remarkably fortunate. Eager to discover their effect, he places one core into his mouth. Green energy outlines his muscles as the crystal dissolves and sends its power coursing through him. One core cannot satisfy his ambition, so Chen lifts the remaining crystals to his mouth and consumes them together. The concentrated energy explodes through every nerve, leaving him screaming as several cores transform his body at once. When the agony finally passes, Chen remains standing but gasps from a change far more violent than his first awakening. Thin green beams suddenly form a precise web around his hands, crossing the room, debris, walls, and corpses. He reaches into the glowing lattice and realizes that every strand responds directly to the movements of his fingers. Looking across the corridor, Chen tests the reach of the luminous lines and the extent of his control. He studies his palm, searching for the link between his thoughts and the spatial threads surrounding him. A slight gesture shifts and tightens several beams, confirming that he can guide them with extraordinary precision. Chen quickly understands that these are more than harmless lights. They may be silent blades awaiting a target. He closes his fist and draws the threads into a cutting pattern across a nearby metal door. The lines divide the thick door into clean slabs, while a new reading shows that his mind has reached 320. Delighted, Chen names the technique his death laser and marvels at how silently it passed through solid metal. He spreads his fingers for another test, eager to confirm the power of his newly awakened weapon. This time the green strands settle across the alloy safe that resisted every strike from his axe. A single movement cuts the entire vault into neat sections and exposes what brute force could not reach. An invisible attack capable of slicing alloy could kill someone before any witness understood what had happened. Pushing that thought aside, Chen searches the open safe to see whether its contents justify the effort. He removes bundles of blue banknotes and realizes that the old world currency is useless back home. Disappointed, he throws the notes aside, leaving a former fortune scattered across the floor. Chen summons his expanded storage space and begins collecting every piece of loot that still has value in the modern world. Then gold bars spill out around his feet, revealing the real treasure hidden inside the ruined safe. He laughs in disbelief as a dangerous supply run instantly becomes a source of unimaginable wealth. The hoard weighs more than 10 kilograms, enough to establish a fortune even if he sells only a portion. While storing the bars, Chen notices that the pocket dimension itself has grown larger. Its capacity has increased from 1 cubic meter to 1.5, proving that crystal cores upgrade his awakened powers. After seeing what one floor contained, he considers using the death laser to clear the rest of the building efficiently. Another violent growl from his stomach interrupts the plan and reveals how quickly his enhanced body consumes energy. With no food left in storage, Chen chooses to return home, restock, and continue exterminating zombies later. Morning sunlight fills his normal apartment as the latest journey ends without any serious new wounds. Holding one unused core, he compares his bodies. The apocalyptic version awakens powers, while the ordinary one has not changed. The difference proves they are separate forms, even though pain and exhaustion can pass between their connected lives. Chen begins wondering whether consuming a crystal here might also awaken his normal body. Curiosity defeats caution, and he swallows the glowing shard to begin another dangerous experiment. Meanwhile, the school's senior students gather in the auditorium for an official event before the entrance exam. A banner announces the final preparation period with only 6 days remaining until the tests begin. The host introduces Professor Zhang Shilong of Qingbei Martial Academy and asks the students to welcome their distinguished guest. He escorts the elderly professor toward the microphone as the crowd applauds the arrival of a representative from the elite school. Cane in hand, Zhang takes center stage before rows of attentive candidates. After clearing his throat, the professor promises to be brief and begins explaining how martial arts relates to their examination. In the audience, Mr. Kong asks how the principal persuaded such a prestigious scout to attend and learns that Zhang volunteered. Kong remains suspicious, since the academy could identify gifted applicants from their exam results without sending anyone in person. The principal quietly asks whether he has heard of a mysterious university rumored to rank even above Qingbei. Kong knows the story, but first wants to know how many of their students have a realistic chance of entering Qingbei. Only a handful of names come to mind, showing how few candidates are truly competitive even in this strong class. Ma Yuzai leads with 658 points on the mock exam, just 2 below Qingbei's previous admission threshold. Liu Ruyan scored 653, placing her 7 points short but still among the school's strongest applicants. Kong also names Chen Yuan, whose score of 655 might rise above the cutoff with 6 days of serious preparation. Then he notices Chen's empty seat and realizes their third major candidate never arrived at the auditorium. The nearby students say he has not appeared at school, though someone suggests he may simply be late. His teacher explodes in anger, remembering Chen's constant sleeping with the entrance exam now only days away. Kong's furious question hangs over the campus. What is that troublesome boy doing instead of attending this event? The answer has nothing to do with school, as several couriers gather beneath Chen's apartment carrying restaurant deliveries. 3 workers compare their separate orders and slowly realize that the same customer requested the entire mountain of food. When Chen opens the door, his bloodshot eyes and desperate breathing make them recoil as if a monster has appeared. He stares silently at the bags, and the intensity of his hunger leaves every courier frozen. Chen suddenly lunges forward and snatches the deliveries with both arms while the frightened workers cry out. The food disappears from their hands before anyone can react, leaving torn sleeves and stunned expressions behind. He slams the door and locks himself inside with the feast before they can recover. Cracks spread around the frame from that casual movement, making the couriers question whether their customer was even human. All 3 flee in panic, abandoning every complaint in favor of getting away alive. Inside, Chen devours a huge burger and box after box of food while his altered metabolism demands more. After finishing everything, he collapses against the wall with a swollen stomach and finally feels the danger recede. The crystal almost killed him through starvation, revealing the enormous energy cost of awakening this body. Once the pain subsides, Chen confirms that the experiment succeeded and that a core can strengthen him in the normal world. Cool blue light gathers near his abdomen, unlike the green spatial energy awakened in the apocalypse. The sensation expands into swirling currents that fill the apartment and overwhelm him with a completely different power. Even after the enormous meal, the newborn ability drains so much energy that Chen doubles over and cries out for more food. He searches the refrigerator and cupboards in desperation but finds only scraps and empty containers. Blue flames coil around his crouched body as a dark geometric shape forms overhead, showing that the awakening is still active. Too weak to shop and unable to survive on leftovers, he has no option except ordering another delivery. Chen anticipated a heavy energy cost, but awakening here consumed about twice as much as it did in the apocalypse. Facing the empty refrigerator, he resolves to build a massive emergency stockpile before attempting another experiment. Despite the hunger, he is thrilled that the gamble worked and gave his normal body an independent supernatural ability. A vast cosmic realm filled with stars spreads over the apartment's floor and walls. Galaxies shine in Chen's eyes as he stares at the beautiful domain and briefly forgets the chaos around him. He enters the starry field and reaches toward one brilliant point to test whether it will respond. The light moves with his hand and the surrounding cosmos begins shifting under his deliberate control. A blue surge sweeps through the domain, drawing scattered matter toward the star as Chen braces against the sudden force. When the cosmic vision fades, nearly everything he targeted has disappeared, leaving only a single object behind. Chen studies the faint afterimage beside him while one small blue star continues to glow. Excitement returns as he forms the luminous point above his palm and considers the power's possible uses. By noon, several hours of practice outside have finally taught him what the star can do. His eyes turn electric blue whenever he activates the cosmic ability. This body's power measures 160 and its mind reaches 300, allowing internal energy to circulate far more efficiently. Ordinary people waste strength through imperfect movement, but Chen's enhanced mind can identify every unnecessary expenditure. The cosmic star stores that excess energy and returns it whenever his power or mental strength begins to run low. Chen summons a second star nearby to demonstrate an even more useful function tied to spatial coordinates. His body vanishes and instantly reappears farther along the alley, with only a dark afterimage marking the gap. He calls this the coordinate effect, since a place star lets him relocate without crossing the space between. Chen can mark any visible point within 10 meters and teleport there, with greater mind promising an even longer range. Energy storage and short-range teleportation make the new awakening so versatile that he celebrates with childish delight. Opening his green storage beside the gold bars, he realizes teleportation will also make selling the suspicious treasure much safer. Before seeking a buyer, Chen conceals his face with a hood and mask while carrying an ordinary backpack as cover. The disguised seller chooses a narrow alley where crowds and surveillance cameras are less likely to follow his movements. Repeated coordinate jumps carry him between positions blends like a ghost, making him almost impossible to track. He arrives at Lingri Pawn Shop, a grand traditional building known for discreetly handling valuable merchandise. Chen has heard that it is Yanzhang's largest pawn shop and buys unusual objects rejected by ordinary stores. He needs a dependable long-term customer for apocalypse loot, especially one capable of keeping suspicious transactions private. With that requirement in mind, he studies the entrance and prepares to judge whether Lingri can be trusted. Chen pushes apart the enormous wooden doors and enters the bright interior to investigate the buyer for himself. The moment he steps across the threshold, an unexpected sight stops him in alarm. A man flies backward through the entrance and nearly collides with Chen while another figure remains silhouetted inside. More bodies are hurled into the stone courtyard as the masked newcomer watches the pawn shop expel its troublemakers. One man lands in a smoking heap and curses through the pain, making the establishment's discipline immediately clear. Another lies bleeding and crying on his back, defeated before he can understand what struck him. When he complains, a red heel crashes into his face and reveals the elegant woman responsible for the violence. She declares that anyone who breaks her rules is banned forever and warns him never to return. Her command sends the battered offender crawling away while Chen quietly observes from outside. The woman notices his stare and turns sharp golden eyes toward the masked stranger. Taking a measured puff from her long pipe, she asks whether this is his first visit without relaxing her guard. Her voice hardens as she orders him to listen because every guest inside her territory obeys the same code. Yan Ziliu, the black market boss, proclaims her rules absolute while armed enforcers gather behind her. Chen's eyes widen at the display, though his disguise conceals most of his reaction. Once her authority is established, Yan smiles and welcomes him with the polished manner of a gracious host. She walks through a hidden entrance in her red heels and expects the newcomer to follow. Beyond the doors lies a concealed street filled with stalls, customers, guards, and merchandise unavailable through legal trade. Chen estimates that Yan may be stronger than Mr. Kong, making the smiling hostess a formidable martial artist herself. A gray-haired customer nearby radiates green power, and he realizes the market is filled with dangerous people conducting enormous deals. The hidden district is Yanzhang's largest black market, not merely an unusual pawn shop. For someone seeking a buyer who will not ask questions, it offers precisely the anonymity and capital Chen needs. Even he cannot identify many objects spread across the tables, from sealed jars and carved figures to strange weapons and devices. A nearby stall advertises purchases of antique coins and paintings, proving the merchants buy valuables directly from visitors. Chen scans the crowded street for a dealer willing to purchase his heavy gold bars. He approaches a bald merchant specializing in precious metals and asks for the current price of bullion. The man immediately recognizes him as a newcomer, since regular customers already know the day's standard rate. He warns that the stall accepts only bulk transactions above 1 kilogram and dismisses anyone carrying less. His offer is 80% of market value, calculated from the current price of 508 yuan per gram. Before Chen answers, a white-haired woman offers to buy a smaller amount as a gesture of goodwill to a new visitor. Another trader laughs at her kindness and assumes the masked youth owns only a few grams. Chen understands their method: purchase goods below market value, resell them, and keep 20% margin. He says his supply is considerable and asks how much gold they are actually capable of buying. The bald dealer mocks his confidence, believing that a young martial novice could not possess any serious treasure. The white-haired buyer ignores the ridicule and says she can purchase 10 kilograms immediately. 4 million yuan is all the available cash she has, setting the maximum size of the deal. The bald merchant shouts that the suspicious newcomer cannot possibly be carrying 10 kilograms of gold. Chen calls that quantity smaller than he hoped but acceptable, then reaches into his backpack. Gleaming bullion appears, and the dealer's smug expression collapses in the reflected light. Chen drops a solid bar onto the table with enough weight to silence everyone around the stall. Traders crowd closer, astonished that the unknown seller possesses gold of such exceptional purity. With the merchandise proven, Chen accepts the woman's 4 million yuan offer and completes the sale. She hands him a black market card loaded with the payment and explains that the money can be withdrawn at any bank. Chen appreciates a system that lets both parties protect their identities and personal accounts. Before he leaves, the buyer asks whether he has more after hearing him describe 10 kilograms as a small amount. His quiet reply shocks everyone nearby. Another 30 kilograms are still waiting to be sold. The crowd freezes as the ordinary-looking stranger suddenly becomes the owner of a staggering fortune. Buyers swarm him with offers for 5 or 10 kilograms each and wonder whether he discovered an abandoned mine. Desperate to reclaim the opportunity, the bald merchant raises his price to 90% of the market rate. Chen rejects him immediately, making it clear that the dishonest opening offer already cost him the deal. Millions in easy profit vanish, leaving the greedy trader speechless. Chen reminds him that he had the first chance to quote a fair price and calls his treatment of customers foolish. The furious merchant can only watch while his competitors divide the valuable supply. Several eager buyers transfer payment for 10-kilogram portions and celebrate securing so much high-purity bullion. By the end, Chen holds black market cards containing a combined 19.5 million yuan. The white-haired woman invites him to bring more gold, gemstones, or antiques without fear of intrusive questions. The bitter dealer sees Chen as a walking treasure chest and assumes someone will soon murder him for it. Chen senses the hostility but remains calm, confident that his growing strength will protect him. Instead of leaving, he asks whether the white-haired woman can genuinely evaluate fine antiques. She modestly claims to know a little, though her calm expression suggests considerable expertise. Accepting that assurance, Chen opens his backpack and presents another collection from the apocalypse. He places a boxed ornament before her and asks for an estimated value, immediately changing her expression. More cases reveal luminous jade jewelry and intricate pendants that astonish every appraiser nearby. The experts identify a royal-grade lavender jade set worth at least 10 million yuan and a guanyin pendant valued at 8 million. Even the cynical bald trader is shaken by a beautifully carved picture that first appears to be green jade. The white-haired appraiser lifts the blue-green ornament and carefully studies its color, texture, and clarity. She announces that it is not ordinary green jade but the legendary dragonstone variety. The collectors erupt in excitement, since most of them know this impossibly rare material only through stories. Veteran dealers beg to inspect it, with one admitting that decades of collecting never brought him a genuine example. The appraiser explains that its vivid color, perfect translucence, and uniform internal structure make it extraordinarily valuable. She estimates that serious collectors could pay hundreds of millions of yuan for the carved pixie alone. Amazement spreads along the hidden street as everyone realizes that a historic treasure has surfaced at an ordinary stall. Chen's quiet valuation turns into the black market's greatest spectacle as collectors shout over its potential price. Watching from concealment, Yan marvels that an object worth hundreds of millions appeared in such a chaotic marketplace. She steps forward and asks whether Chen would place the dragonstone carving in the Wanling auction. Unfamiliar with the name, he asks what the auction is and why everyone treats it with such reverence. The appraiser describes Yanzhang's secret monthly sale, open only to owners of items worth hundreds of millions. Chen wants immediate money, but understands that wealthy bidders may pay far more than a private dealer. He asks when the next event begins and whether his treasures can still be entered. Yan says it starts in 3D days and guarantees that his identity will remain confidential. All three exceptional pieces qualify, granting Chen access to the richest collectors in Yanzhang's underground world. Yan waits behind a veil of pipe smoke while the surrounding merchants hope he will choose a direct sale. She adds that the gentleman present will gladly buy everything now if he cannot wait. Silence settles over the crowd as everyone waits for Chen's decision. Then private offers erupt. 15 million for the bracelet, 10 million for the guanyin pendant, and increasingly desperate bids. Merchants shove forward, claim priority, and wave payment cards until the appraisal becomes an impromptu auction. Less wealthy collectors despair at finding extraordinary treasures they cannot afford. Others ridicule the bald dealer for failing to recognize the fortune carried by an ordinary-looking newcomer. While he watches bitterly, competing buyers continue raising their voices and prices. The crowd nearly buries Chen beneath reaching arms, making his sudden wealth unexpectedly dangerous to manage. He eventually escapes the crush and feels grateful that the powerful martial artists all restrain themselves. The payment cards in his hands confirm that the chaotic visit was extraordinarily profitable. The bracelet sells for 16.5 million and the guanyin pendant for 10 million, raising Chen's total fortune to 46 million yuan. In one afternoon, he has gone from poverty to immense wealth, a transformation almost too absurd to believe. When the crowd settles, Yan returns and asks what he intends to do with the dragonstone pixie. Since the other sales supplied plenty of immediate cash, Chen decides to enter the carving in the auction. Yan welcomes the choice, clearly pleased to secure such a sensational centerpiece for her event. Half an hour later, Chen receives a small carved ring that authorizes him to attend the secret sale. He expected a formal invitation, but the discreet token alone will carry him through the auction entrance. Yan warns him not to lose it and invites him to bring future valuables directly to her private room. As Chen prepares to leave, she advises him to be especially careful on the way home. Her warning reflects a ruthless world where powerful people often settle profitable disputes through violence. Beneath the drifting smoke, Chen realizes the danger surrounding his fortune may begin before he leaves the district. He moves quickly through a secluded alley, letting the high walls conceal him from anyone following. After hearing footsteps and rustling fabric for some time, Chen confirms that a pursuer is staying just out of sight. A massive shadow sweeps across the passage as the hidden attacker launches from above. Chen calmly looks up and tracks the falling figure with senses sharper than the ambusher expected. 2 feet strike the ground nearby, revealing the man reckless enough to follow him from the market. It is the same bald merchant who undervalued his gold, now perched on the wall with a dagger and a vicious grin. Chen's expression hardens as he realizes the greedy dealer chose robbery after losing his legitimate chance to profit. Calling him weak, the merchant descends and pretends that he merely came to offer advice about carrying cash. He waves the knife and warns that arrogance without strength eventually provokes someone capable of killing you. The attacker charges with practiced martial speed, expecting the supposed novice to collapse immediately. Chen answers with a crushing kick to the face as the blue display measures his power at 330. The blow launches the merchant into the tiled wall before he can finish his attack. Bloodied and stunned, the ambusher cannot understand how an apparently harmless newcomer overwhelmed him. Chen sarcastically thanks the man for his advice and announces that he has a question of his own. Blue energy flares around him as he asks which one of them is truly about to die in this alley. The merchant knows that power above 300 belongs to a martial artist and should be impossible for a beginner. Initiates rank below 150, disciples between 150 and 250, and true martial artists beyond that threshold. Chen also crossed the distance in an instant, proving that physical power is only one of his advantages. Confronted by that aura, the attacker finally accepts that the masked stranger is a genuine martial artist. He curses himself for challenging such a monster and assumes Chen deliberately hid his experience to lure arrogant thieves. Recalling every insult, the fallen merchant understands that his own arrogance led him to attack someone vastly stronger. He abandons all pride, drops to his knees, admits his mistake, and begs Chen for forgiveness. The man repeatedly smashes his forehead against the pavement while screaming that he brought the disaster upon himself. Each bloodied blow comes with another promise never to act so foolishly again, but Chen offers no reassurance. Terrified by the silence, the merchant strikes the ground even harder and pleads for his life. Chen says nothing, allowing the attacker to understand how easily this encounter could end in an execution. Meanwhile, he evaluates the attack. Releasing all stored cosmic energy increased his strength from a 160 to 330. Combined with teleportation, that burst could kill the martial artist instantly despite the man's established rank. The merchant mistakes Chen for a seasoned expert, unaware that one concentrated release produced the terrifying display. That single kick consumed nearly 80% of the energy in his star, severely limiting repeated use. Chen was prepared to teleport away if it failed, but the successful counter proves he can now threaten martial artists. Annoyed that his first attempt to make money attracted a robber, he offers the kneeling man one way to survive. Under Chen's murderous pressure, the attacker must surrender every card and coin he possesses. Back in her private room, Yan receives a report and reacts with pleased surprise that her guest handled the ambush alone. One of her observers confirms the result while the defeated merchant remains stranded in the alley. The guard explains that Huang launched the attack, but the intended victim reversed the situation without needing assistance. Chen defeated the experienced merchant in one blow, convincing the watchers that his strength is genuine. Yan reclines with her pipe and quietly reassesses the mysterious seller she had considered merely interesting. She assumed he was only a rich student, but now recognizes that he has already reached martial artist level. Her amusement becomes real curiosity as she wonders who the extraordinary young man is and what else he conceals. Rather than resenting his secrecy, Yan smiles with fascination at someone so difficult to predict. As evening settles over Yanzhong, Chen safely leaves the underground district and returns to the city's public streets. He transfers every black market balance into his bank account and receives exactly 50 million yuan. The sum includes 46 million from sales and about 4 million taken from Huang, making him wealthy overnight. After a brief celebration, Chen decides to return to the apocalypse that night and continue growing stronger. One treasure site produced a fortune, so he begins imagining raids on abandoned banks and jewelry stores across the ruined city. More importantly, he needs additional cores before he encounters monsters far more dangerous than ordinary zombies. First, Chen approaches a brightly lit shopping complex while evening crowds stream around the high-rise building. His immediate goal is to buy enough food to sustain his apocalyptic body through another night of combat. Riding the escalator among ordinary shoppers, he hides the fact that his backpack supplies a second world. A young real estate promoter notices the casually dressed student and approaches despite his unpromising appearance. She offers him a brochure and politely asks whether he is interested in an apartment near the subway. Chen considers buying a home a sensible investment, but decides there is no time to inspect properties today. He keeps the brochure and promises to call once he has decided, giving the hopeful promoter reason to celebrate. She imagines the generous commission she might earn if the unusual young customer follows through. A cynical coworker scolds her for wasting flyers on someone who looks too poor to purchase a home. Pointing toward a wealthier couple, the woman insists that a student like Chen could never be a serious buyer. Her favored prospect accompanies Mr. Zhao, who promises to buy as many apartments as his spoiled partner desires. The flirting couple passes on their way to dinner, reinforcing the coworker's habit of judging customers by clothing. The young promoter believes character matters more than appearances and trusts her instinct that Chen deserved respect. She lets the wealthy pair go without abandoning her professional judgment merely because a colleague mocked her. Remembering Chen's direct expression, she decides that his promise seemed sincere and hopes he will contact her. Elsewhere in the mall, Chen pushes a cart overflowing with bread, water, cookies, prepared meals, and calorie-rich desserts. The huge supply run is exhausting, but both bodies need immense energy, so he also adds medicine and weapons. Seeing the bulk goods makes him wish for a private warehouse, strengthening his decision to purchase a house. Later, Chen carries the provisions back to his aging apartment and prepares to cross over when he sleeps. He settles beneath the blankets and lets exhaustion carry his consciousness toward the ruined city. As his breathing deepens, the mysterious passage reconnects him with his apocalyptic body. He awakens beneath a pale morning sky overlooking shattered towers and silent districts. Drinking hot coffee above the devastated streets, Chen jokes that sightseeing is pleasant when modern supplies are available. Zombies wander around a ruined building below while he wonders what catastrophe destroyed such an advanced civilization. The two worlds appear to follow opposite cycles, with night at home corresponding to morning in the apocalypse. Once full, Chen takes his pipe and axe and eagerly sets out to hunt more crystal cores. The crude tools feel inadequate for his increased strength, although they can still crush ordinary zombie skulls. He promises to buy proper weapons after securing a house with enough space for supplies. In another dark corridor, zombies close around Chen from both directions without realizing who is hunting whom. He welcomes the attack and hopes the larger pack will leave behind plenty of valuable cores. Golden spatial lines spread across the hallway before the monsters reach him, turning their formation into a trap. At his command, the intersecting blades tear through several bodies while Chen drops safely beneath the cuts. He descends from the 17th floor toward the lower levels, leaving severed corpses behind in the stairwells. Repeated spatial attacks eventually leave him breathless among the scattered limbs, since controlling them still consumes stamina. Even so, Chen clears every infected creature from floors 17 through 15 without suffering a serious wound. A small zombie suddenly thrusts its head through a broken red door and snaps at him. Its blood-filled mouth stretches unnaturally wide, exposing jagged teeth as it strains against the barrier. Before he can study it further, heavy footsteps reveal more infected deeper in the 15th floor corridor. A growing pack charges across the blood-slicked floor toward the noise and scent of living flesh. Several adult zombies burst from the darkness and rush the apparently isolated survivor. They leap from every side, forcing Chen to twist between their claws while preparing his ability. This floor holds far more enemies than expected, but the numbers also promise a larger crystal harvest. A bright spatial blade appears beside him and cleanly removes one reaching arm. Chen ducks another swipe and raises both hands, arranging invisible cutting paths around the reckless attackers. Thin green lines weave through the entire group and connect their bodies to the narrow walls in a deadly grid. The zombies keep advancing, unaware that every movement carries them across the lethal boundaries. More creatures emerge from every opening until Chen is surrounded too completely for ordinary weapons to help. The packed horde hesitates as unfamiliar green light spreads through its formation and marks every target. At the center, Chen's eyes glow while his interlocked fingers compress numerous blades into a single pattern. He releases the formation, and brilliant intersecting beams dismember the entire group at once. When the light fades, Chen remains untouched among collapsing pieces of the horde. The smaller zombie is still trapped in the broken doorway, groaning as he turns toward its exposed head. Chen extends one hand and prepares to eliminate the final infected creature. A green line passes through the door and severs its head before the jaws can reach him. He appreciates the blade's sharpness, range, and precision, qualities that make it exceptionally effective indoors. Yet killing scattered targets separately is slow, while large formations consume substantial mind and stamina. Fortunately, Chen brought 50 nutrient supplements to fuel his body through the continued descent. He drinks several vials, retrieves the worn axe, and resumes clearing the building before the infected can regroup. On the 10th floor, the corridor appears strangely empty, though its silent doors hide a different struggle. A pink-haired woman in a barriered cap cautiously peers from an apartment, revealing another living survivor. Carrying a pistol, she enters the hallway and wonders whether the roaming corpse king has returned. The creature has circled the complex for some time, and she fears it may be a level 2 zombie. Her suspicion is confirmed when a huge mutated corpse charges out and knocks her backward. She notices the deep crater in its skull and freezes, realizing someone has already struck it with enormous force. The damage suggests that an unknown fighter may be battling nearby, offering the first hope of help in a long time. The wounded corpse king lunges again, its caved head and multiple glowing eyes doing nothing to slow it. The woman grabs her handgun and fires at close range to keep its claws away. She immediately regrets the gunshot, knowing the sound will draw every zombie on the surrounding floors. With no better option, she climbs through a broken upper passage as infected shadows close behind her. Multiple silhouettes approach through the darkness, turning one desperate fight into a full pursuit. She runs through the exposed corridor, calling for help while red-eyed zombies race only steps behind. Near exhaustion, the survivor apologizes to her absent father and remembers that even his gun could not save their family. A memory of him holding the same pistol gives her grief and desperation one final surge. At the 12th floor stairwell, she loses one sneaker but cannot stop with the horde behind her. Her footing fails, and she tumbles down the steps as the infected pour after her. She lands among grasping zombies that block every possible escape. Out of strength and ammunition, the terrified woman covers her face and waits to die. Before the creatures reach her, brilliant green lines slice through every infected body in the darkness. When no pain comes, she lowers her arms and stares at the impossible rescue. Chen stands nearby with an easy smile, revealing himself as the fighter she hoped to find. Surrounded by dismembered corpses, he teasingly praises her ability to gather such an enormous crowd. Later, she explains that Earth was once a blue, peaceful world rich with water and natural abundance. Green mountains covered the thriving planet before everything changed beyond recognition. Decades earlier, an unprecedented sandstorm swallowed the globe and forced terrified populations to flee. Fertile land became desert, energy supplies vanished, animals mutated, and the climate swung between deadly heat and cold. Humanity found ways to endure, but only a few years later an even worse disaster emerged. A plague known as death stigma spread across the damaged world and destroyed any hope of recovery. Chen asks whether the disease turned humans into zombies, and the survivor confirms his conclusion. The airborne virus transformed 80% of humanity and surrendered most cities to the infected. A fortified base for superhumans supposedly exists in the north, but she lacks the strength to reach it. The mention of superhumans catches Chen's attention since they may explain how powers developed in this world. She means people with special abilities like his, finally giving his spatial awakening a local classification. After sharing what she knows, the starving survivor admits she has no food and nervously leaves her fate to Chen. The survivor suddenly grips her pistol with trembling hands and begs Chen to let her go, implying that she will shoot otherwise. She braces the weapon against herself and forces a fierce expression, turning his offer of food into a baffling standoff. Chen never threatened her and cannot understand why the first living person he found seems ready to take her own life. Her fear shows him how completely this ruined world has destroyed trust among the remaining survivors. He reminds her that gunshots attract zombies and asks how she lasted so long without ammunition. She answers, intuition. Her unusual gift leads her to rooms containing food and even helps her open simple electronic locks. Realizing the ability could locate abandoned valuables, Chen eagerly asks whether the building contains jewelry or gold bars. She remembers seeing plenty and calls it useless rubbish, since wealth has no practical purpose in the apocalypse. Delight flashes across Chen's face, leaving the confused survivor to wonder whether she revealed something dangerous. She clutches her shirt and pistol as greed suddenly appears in the supposedly generous superhuman's smile. Chen rests a friendly hand on her shoulder and praises her usefulness, making her uncertain whether he represents rescue or trouble. Then he simply asks whether she wants food, and hunger instantly crushes all suspicion. Chen proposes exchanging provisions for the gold and jewelry that survivors now consider worthless. With exaggerated seriousness, he prices 5 kilograms of gold at 1 packet of jelly and considers adding half a steamed bun. Instead of protesting, she becomes thrilled by the thought of jelly and bread, proving how completely scarcity reversed value. Chen adds that truly exceptional treasure might earn an entire bottle of clean water. Overwhelmed by his supposed generosity, the woman promises to repay him, making him realize even these absurd terms sound lavish to her. Through tears, she asks whether he is a god for trading precious food for rubbish, and Chen allows the misunderstanding to stand. Since the nearby zombies are dead, he sends her to search for gold bars and other valuables. Chen also offers a bag of popcorn for 10 zombie cores, and she accepts before sprinting away. Watching her disappear with renewed energy, he happily leaves the treasure hunt to someone who knows the building. Alone again, Chen turns to his own development and opens his palm over the collected crystals. He killed 40 zombies during the descent, but recovered only 15 cores. Deeper floors seem to hold stronger infected and fewer crystals, so future growth will require increasingly dangerous hunts. Green energy gathers around the hard-earned cores as Chen prepares to risk them on a major breakthrough. He arranges an enormous feast to replace the energy his body will consume and begins the absorption. Chen throws 10 cores into his mouth at once, forcing more power through himself than ever before. Green lightning covers his seated body as the accumulated energy locks every muscle. Even 10 do not satisfy his ambition, so he raises the last 5 and commits all 15 to the transformation. A blazing aura engulfs him while the added power overwhelms his senses and turns the upgrade into torture. Chen clutches his chest and doubles over but refuses to stop as the crystals burn through him. Green fire streams from his mouth while the combined cores violently rebuild his body from within. The transformation detonates outward and hurls him backward through a towering blast. When the energy subsides, Chen's glowing eyes reveal that the reckless gamble succeeded. His statistics rise to 250 power, 210 speed, 220 agility, and 350 mind, while impurities are purged from his body. His pocket dimension also expands to 2 cubic meters, creating more room for provisions and loot. The upgrade leaves him starving again, and his stomach demands every calorie he prepared. Chen attacks the roasted meat, seafood, and rice so quickly that afterimages surround him. Once every dish is empty, he collapses with an enormous belly and releases one satisfied breath. Surrounded by bare bones and empty plates, Chen lies smiling in complete digestive bliss. He stores the used dishes and notes that every crystal upgrade consumes an absurd amount of energy. The purification also left him coated in grime, making a bath his next priority. Fortunately, Chen carried clean water and bathing supplies through the pocket dimension for exactly this need. He leaps into the filled tub with childish excitement and celebrates a rare comfort in the dead city. Warm water washes away blood, dust, and the residue of transformation, leaving him clean and relaxed. Chen scrubs among the bubbles and congratulates himself for packing toiletries that other survivors can no longer obtain. Wine, candles, and rubber ducks complete the scene as he reclines like a guest at a private resort. On an upper floor, the pink-haired survivor follows her intuition into another promising apartment. She gathers gold jewelry, gemstones, and a decorative vase, unwilling to overlook anything Chen might accept. Though the sacks become painfully heavy, she drags them along rather than sacrifice potential payment. Carrying treasure is far better than starving or being eaten when her new benefactor offers food in exchange. The woman encourages herself by name, revealing that the determined survivor is called Shushu. Expecting only half a bun and some jelly, Shushu struggles with the final bag and remains determined to repay Chen. When she returns, vases, carved boxes, bullion, jewelry, and statues cover the floor in a dazzling horde. The hall even includes an ornate wooden table, leaving Chen speechless at her broad definition of portable treasure. Shushu explains that rare wood furniture once sold for its weight in gold, proving that her instincts found things he missed. She also presents sealed safes and antiques, admitting she could not open them but assumed he could. Chen clears his throat and asks her to use his name while struggling to hide his excitement. He praises Shushu's surprising strength and genuinely respects the effort behind her search. Chen lays out her reward: clean water and several precious foods that instantly replace her exhaustion with hope. Shushu hugs the dishes and bottle as grateful tears run down her face. Before eating, she produces 4 cores collected from Chen's corpses and apologizes for not finding more. She wanted 10 to earn popcorn, but he gladly accepts the 4 shards while she regrets the incomplete bargain. Together with the treasure pile, those cores make the exchange overwhelmingly profitable for Chen. He privately notes her naivete, since saving the crystals until she had 10 would have earned her more food. Curious about local knowledge, Chen shows her a core and asks how survivors use them. Shushu says swallowing one can awaken a power, prompting him to ask why she never tried. Many people consumed cores after the outbreak, but the awakening requires an enormous reserve of physical energy. Shushu has lived on biscuits for months and exhausted the building's food, so the process would have starved her to death. Chen understands that scarcity, not a shortage of cores, prevents survivors from evolving as quickly as he does. He gestures toward the reward and tells the stunned woman to eat as much as she wants. Shushu bites through a thick sausage, its simple snap becoming a celebration after months of dry biscuits. Her eyes widen at the sight of lobster, a luxury she never imagined still existed. Chen calls the meal payment for her work and promises to return whenever he needs more help. As he prepares to go, Shushu points to the treasure and asks how he plans to carry it. Chen snaps his fingers and green currents coil around every valuable object as his pocket space opens. Safes, antiques, gold, and ornaments vanish one by one until only the oversized wooden sofa remains. Seeing the collection disappear, Shushu identifies him as a spatial superhuman and understands his endless supplies. Chen leaves her beside the feast and continues deeper into the building without revealing the link between worlds. Inspired by his power and kindness, Shushu vows to gather mountains of treasure before Mr. Chen returns. She immediately draws a map of the complex and marks promising rooms, taking her new occupation seriously. While chewing, Shushu circles unexplored locations and decides the nearby bank must hold even greater treasure. Her planning stops when she chokes from eating too quickly. Once she recovers, Shushu sinks into the sofa and remembers that she had spent days without water. She resolves to rest now, work harder tomorrow, and earn another exchange with her mysterious benefactor. Wanting more water and a bath, she wanders through the rooms while lamenting that washing is impossible. At an open doorway, Shushu suddenly freezes before an unbelievable sight. The bottle falls from her hand and strikes the tiles as she stares into the room. Chen's bathtub is still nearly full, and she approaches the water as if discovering a priceless treasure. A little dirt floats on the surface, but it is more usable water than Shushu has seen in months. She lowers one trembling finger, half expecting the miraculous pool to disappear. Real ripples spread from her touch and prove that the bathwater is not a hallucination. Shushu's delighted cries echo through the tower as Chen's abandoned bath becomes another impossible gift. Meanwhile, Chen awakens in his normal bed and remembers the enormous volume of valuables now stored in his dimension. Sitting among the blankets, he calculates how completely Shushu's collection could change his financial plans. Even before appraisal, the sheer quantity of rare objects promises another extraordinary fortune. Chen opens the 2 cubic meter space and reveals packed bottles, boxes, safes, and antiques. Beyond the jewelry and gold, he suspects the porcelain vases may be worth more than everything he previously sold. With the Wanling auction taking place tomorrow, Chen will ask its experts to value the collection. Before business, he tests the bathroom faucet and appreciates ordinary running water after seeing the apocalypse. Once washed, Chen carries his toothbrush toward the balcony to enjoy the morning air. He admires the clear sky and sunlight with the toothbrush still in his mouth. Dirty water suddenly pours from above and drenches the laundry beside him. Chen looks up and demands that his neighbor stop throwing water onto his clothes. A heavyset woman in curlers leans from the upper window and blames him for hanging laundry outside. She orders the supposedly poor student to move away and accuses him of disrespecting his elders. Chen says her harassment has gone too far, but the neighbor refuses responsibility and continues provoking him. She boasts that her husband is a Ma family guard and a martial disciple who will punish Chen that evening. The connection makes him suspect Ma Yuzai arranged the intimidation, but he will not cannot risk injury before the entrance exam. The plan is obvious. Lure him into fighting the guards so even a minor wound ruins his performance. The unseen husband crushes part of a concrete wall with one hand to demonstrate his strength. Cheon chooses restraint and turns away with a cold smile, refusing to reveal his power for such an obvious trap. He promises to return the harassment twofold after the exam and leaves before the woman can provoke him further. Alone upstairs, she counts the money received for tormenting Cheon, confirming that someone paid for the conflict. She boasts that opposing young Master Ma has consequences and says her husband will beat the student bloody. One or two broken legs seem acceptable to her, revealing that the water was only an excuse for a planned assault. Expecting a generous Ma family reward, the neighbor smiles while Cheon continues toward his next destination. He arrives at Yuk Real Estate, ready to solve his need for a home and private storage. The respectful brown-haired promoter greets him professionally, unaware of the casually dressed teenager's enormous fortune. She recognizes Cheon as he enters while eating noodles, pleased that he remembered her invitation and kept his promise. Still eating and holding the brochure, Cheon plainly announces that he has come to buy a home. The promoter enthusiastically offers him a chair and treats the unconventional buyer with the same respect as before. Rather than interrupt his meal, she brings tea and snacks and promises to show suitable properties when he is ready. Watching from behind a display, her dismissive coworker considers the tea wasted on someone who still appears penniless. The woman approaches in an expensive plaid suit and openly claims that a person dressed like Cheon cannot afford a house. The respectful promoter tries to restrain Miss Linlin, finally revealing the arrogant employee's name. Linlin pushes her aside, declares that the agency is not a charity, and threatens to call security if Cheon stays. Unmoved, he repeats that he came specifically to purchase a property. Certain that Cheon is bluffing, Linlin promises to kneel before him if he actually completes a sale. The promoter pulls her colleague back, while Cheon rejects the wager because he has no desire to see such a person kneeling. He turns to the only employee who respected him and asks her to handle his inquiry. She eagerly opens a brochure and presents the available options while Linlin seethes at being ignored. Linlin insists that Cheon's clothes prove his poverty and mocks her colleague for wasting time on him. She leaves to serve supposed VIPs, claiming her coworker's trusting nature explains why she always finishes last in sales. Ignoring the insult, the promoter selects listings that match Cheon's needs and offers to show them in person. Cheon agrees with genuine interest as her patient service moves them toward an actual purchase. They visit a modern tower in the city center whose privacy and convenient location suit his requirements. The building faces a subway station and offers furnished units of 40, 80, or 140 square meters at 20,000 yuan per square meter with 20% down. Cheon likes the first option and decides to inspect it carefully before making a commitment. From the high window, he approves the security and location but questions how much room his expanding operation needs. He weighs convenience against floor space while the promoter waits attentively for his decision. Before Cheon can answer, Linlin arrives with a wealthy, heavy-set client who loudly approves a separate 5 million yuan project. She showers the man with flattery, displaying the enthusiasm she completely denied Cheon. Linlin clings to his arm while he holds her waist, making their supposedly professional tour look intimate. The client offers to buy a 40 square meter unit to improve her sales record, and she immediately suggests purchasing two. His proposal to keep her in one apartment exposes their arrangement, yet Linlin responds with practiced charm. The delighted man mistakes her coy desire for more time together as genuine affection. Linlin says neighboring units would let them meet whenever they please, disguising temptation as investment advice. Completely persuaded, he agrees to two apartments while she mentally calculates the commission and personal benefits. However, he will transfer the second unit to her only after making the down payment, leaving her with the mortgage. Linlin remembers his promise to pay in full and suspects the debt is meant to keep her financially dependent. Though they laugh like lovers, each secretly considers the purchase a way to exploit the other. Linlin finally notices Cheon and her colleague, and her confident smile tightens at finding the supposedly poor customer inside. She asks whether they are also viewing the property, surprised that the unlikely lead progressed beyond the office. The promoter honestly says Cheon is still considering the listing rather than pretending she has secured a sale. Linlin lectures them about mortgages and insists that a manageable deposit means nothing without future payments. Even the smallest unit costs 800,000 yuan, and she challenges Cheon to prove he possesses that amount. He meets the insult in silence, giving her no hint that the price is trivial compared with his fortune. The promoter asks Linlin to stop judging customers by their appearance. Linlin replies that her coworker has sold nothing all month and should quit instead of objecting. Cheon asks whether Linlin is the top salesperson and requests her total for the month. She boasts of averaging 800,000 yuan monthly and reaching 2 million this month. Cheon quietly notes that a mere 2 million apparently makes her the agency's leading seller. Deciding that further comparison is pointless, he announces that he will purchase the entire floor. The casual declaration stuns everyone, since a complete floor is far beyond an ordinary apartment purchase. The respectful promoter struggles to confirm that he truly means every unit on the level. Linlin protests that one floor costs 16 million yuan and demands whether Cheon understands the scale of the order. Calling 16 million surprisingly cheap, he raises the purchase to 2 complete floors. Cheon produces his bank card and offers to pay at once, once, proving the declaration is not an empty bluff. The full 32.8 million yuan payment succeeds while the wealthy client screams in disbelief. The witnesses marvel at the cash purchase and wonder what kind of heir could possess such wealth. Asked whether he plans to run a hotel, Chen explains that both floors will become a single private storage area. The staff cannot understand sacrificing luxury apartments for storage and suggest a suburban warehouse would cost far less. Chen replies that the suburbs are inconvenient, whereas this building has subway access, an excellent view, and one more advantage. The final reason is to reward the respectful promoter by giving her an extraordinary sales record. Linlin and her client accuse them of staging the transaction, unable to accept that anyone would spend so much for that reason. The wealthy buyer panics when he realizes Linlin's conduct nearly drove away an enormously valuable customer. He apologizes, blames Linlin for misleading him, and offers the services of his renovation company. The contractor requests Chen's contact details while the humbled promoter stands beside her remarkable customer. Crawling in disbelief, Linlin insists that no teenager could afford 32.8 million yuan and imagines a conspiracy against her. She cannot accept that her beauty and figure failed where an ordinary-looking colleague succeeded. Company executives arrive and demand to meet the customer who bought 2 entire floors. Their leader introduces himself as Zhou Hong, president of Fuhua Group, and invites Chen to a private VIP room. Chen declines and tells the president to solve his company's internal problems before offering him special treatment. Understanding the message, Zhou fires Linlin for abusing a customer and blacklists her throughout the local real estate industry. Security removes her as she realizes that her cruelty cost her the commission on a 32.8 million yuan transaction. Linlin cries, apologizes, and begs for mercy, but regret cannot reverse the consequences. Zhou offers to manage Chen's affairs personally, yet the teenager rejects the polished arrangement. Instead, Chen points to the respectful promoter and insists that she remain responsible for his purchase. The president hires her full-time, orders the staff to respect her, and receives her promise to work hard. Blushing behind her glasses, the young woman marvels at the customer whose intervention transformed her career. With sunlight filling the luxury apartment, she wonders what kind of person possesses such wealth and influence. The completed contracts, property cards, and heavy set of keys pass into Chen's hands, finalizing both floors. He leaves the sales center and walks through the city while pedestrians remain unaware of his enormous purchase. Zhou's staff confirms that the apartments are ready, hands over the keys and documents, and offers professional movers. Chen accepts because he plans to relocate that night and leaves the entire move to them. With the arrangements complete, he decides there is still time to shop before packing his remaining possessions. Suddenly, a furious muscular man spots him between the buildings and charges while shouting that he finally found him. The attacker launches his enormous body through the air, expecting size and martial training to overwhelm the teenager. Chen barely reacts before redirecting the assault and flipping the man upside down. The attacker crashes headfirst into a roadside fire hydrant, turning his entrance into a spectacular public humiliation. The impact tears the hydrant free and unleashes a towering geyser that scatters nearby pedestrians. Soaked and embarrassed, the muscular man forces the heavy hydrant back into place while apologizing repeatedly. A mobile payment of 500 covers the damage as firefighters arrive and Chen watches in awkward silence. Struggling not to laugh, Chen recognizes the drenched attacker as Mr. Kong and asks why his teacher came in person. Kong roars that he should be asking the questions, reclaiming his intimidating authority despite the accident. He scolds Chen for missing school, ignoring calls, and wandering around when every remaining hour before the exam matters. Chen attempts to explain his errands, but the furious teacher dominates the conversation before the truth can emerge. Assuming a girl caused the absence, Kong declares that earning top entrance exam marks must be Chen's only concern. The student politely agrees and decides that revealing his apocalyptic business would only create greater confusion. Instead of continuing the lecture, Kong places 2 valuable tubes of orange nutrient fluid into Chen's hand. The stern teacher acknowledges his difficult family situation and offers the supplements to support one final push before the exam. Chen falls silent as he recognizes the genuine concern beneath Mr. Kong's explosive temper.